Salve, viadores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Phaedrus' Fables. This is where I am translating Latin fables by the man Phaedrus into English and talking my process through everything. Of course, these fables are technically poetry and in verse, iambic hexameter to be specific, but I'm not translating it into English poetry or even just scanning for the meter. Because that is beyond me. I'm not great at it, so I'm not even going to try. But here are all of the fables that I have and will translate. Today is just Phaedrus. Just about Phaedrus, and really him and his critics. One of the best parts of reading Latin poetry is when they address their critics. Latin poets can be very, very vindictive. So, let's get into it. Tu qui nasute scripta destringis mea. Let's just do that for now. Just the first line. Tu, just the pronoun you in the nominative case, so it is our subject. Qui is a relative pronoun, so who, and also in the nominative, so it's the subject of the relative clause. Just a clause kind of describing relative to a certain thing. Here is the you. Nasute. Nasute is an adverb. Literally, it's formed from nasutus, which literally means long-nosed. I almost want to say nasally, but really it's like satirically or sarcastically, scornfully. I'm gonna say scornfully, but I really do almost want to say nasally. Just like, you know how people will make fun of others like, actually, it's really meaning that kind of thing. It's almost like that has existed for thousands of years. But, yeah. Scripta is from scriptum. It is a noun just meaning writing or text. Writing. And it could either be nominative plural or accusative plural. We've already got our nominative, so it has to be accusative, really, and I should mark that as the object. Detractors is our verb, and it's just second person singular, usually shown by the S ending. Present active indicative from destringo. Destringo literally means to, like, strip off, sometimes like unsheathing a sword, but it could also mean to criticize. So, you who scornfully writing criticize, and I know it doesn't make sense right now because of the word order, but we will put it in the correct word order in the English once we're done with all the words. Mea. Mea could be, it's from meus, which is just my. And mea could either be the nominative or ablative singular in the feminine gender, or nominative or accusative plural for neuter. And since adjectives, because my is technically an adjective, have to agree with the noun they're modifying in gender, number, and case, it is agreeing with scripta. It's the only thing it really can agree with here, so my. So, you who scornfully criticize my writings, et hoc genus iocorum legere fastidis, et, it was just the conjunction, and hoc is from the pronoun hic, haec, hoc. That's just in each gender. So hic, it means this. And specifically, this is the neuter singular. Neuter nominative singular. Well, nominative or accusative singular. Just, it's neuter gender. Iocorum is from iocus, which means a joke. Well, not necessarily a joke, but like a jest or amusement, like something that causes amusement, really, or even just like a Pastime. I'm going to say amusements, though, because it is genitive plural as shown by the aurum. Legere is from lego. It's the infinitive, the present active infinitive. So just to read. Fastidis is also second person like destringis, because tu is still our subject here, and it is from fastidio. Fastidio means to loathe or dislike. I'm just going to go with dislike. And it's just present active indicative, so it's the most simple kind, most simple form, just second person singular. Genus is a, I think, third declension noun that is neuter. Either that or it's fourth declension. Yeah, it's third declension. But it's a neuter, third declension noun. That means like a kind. Kind, class, origin, birth, descent, that kind of thing. It's essentially like a grouping of something, whether that be people or jokes or amusements. So, and you dislike fastidis, legere, to read, hoc this genus kind iocorum, of not jokes, amusements. Parva libellum sustine patientia. So parva is an adjective from parvus. It means little, a little bit or few. Libellum is technically, well, it's from libellus, which is the diminutive, basically a form of a word that means a small version. Liber means a book. So the diminutive of liber means a little book. And I know there's parva, but if you see, I've marked it as modifying patientia, so little book is not working with parva, actually. Sustine is the imperative form of sustineo. Sustineo? Yeah, sustineo. And that means to sustain or keep up. Or maybe even, let's say, keep with. Yeah, keep with. And the imperative, it is one of, what is it, 3 moods in Latin? The indicative, which I've already said, is just the statement of fact. Ambulo, I walk. That's just a statement of fact. Whereas sustine, as the imperative mood, is an order. So keep with. Not that they're just keeping with, but Phaedrus is telling them to keep with it. And patientia. This is just the noun, which, as you could probably tell, means patience. And this could either be, it's a first declension noun, so it's either nominative singular or ablative singular. And we've already got our subject with sustine, just, it's still the you, so it has to be ablative. So, I keep with libellum, or really this little book. Sometimes you have to just insert words into Latin, because Latin doesn't use as many words as English to get across the same idea. It more so uses context. And if they're ablative, let's do ablative of means, with a little patience. So just have a little bit of patience, please. Keep with my book. Severitatem frontis dum placo tuae. Technically there. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Because if you've been watching my videos, you will know that I have been getting conjunctions and adverbs mixed up all the time, or at least a few specific ones. So, yeah, dum is a conjunction, not an adverb. I mean, it can be an adverb, I guess, according to Wiktionary. It's just an adverb in Old Latin, not this age's Latin. Because Phaedrus is from about the 1st century CE, so this is like classical Latin. Just a slightly after Cicero and Caesar. So, severitatem is from severitas, a noun meaning seriousness or strictness, severity, gravity. I'm gonna go with gravity. Well, maybe not. Sternness, I think I'll go with. Needs two N's. Frontis is the genitive singular form from frons. Frons just means, like, the brow. So, of the brow. Dum is a conjunction usually meaning while. And placo, this is just the straight up first person singular present active indicative, the first principal part, what you will find it in the dictionary under, which means to, well, I placate or please or even appease. Well, I guess not really, kind of please, but I guess it's more so like soothing, well, soothe, or calm. Let's do placate. Yeah. And tuai is, it's the same thing as mea, just in the second person. So that is your. The nominative masculine singular is tuus, and so tuai is feminine, agreeing with frontis, genitive, also agreeing with frontis, and singular, also agreeing with frontis. So, let's go with the conjunction first. While subject, I placate, verb, severitatem, our object, the sternness, frontis, of, well, really, tuai first, your, frontis, brow. So keep up with this book, have a little patience, while I try to appease, I try to placate the sternness of your brow, which I kind of wanted to use gravity, because I would assume the brow would be further down. I thought that would be a fun play on words, but I don't think it quite works. Et in cotornis prodit aesopus novis. Et, we already saw, and in is a preposition meaning in or on, or into or onto. It depends on the case of the noun following. Cotornis can only be dative or ablative plural, so it'll be in or on. And cotornis comes from cotornos, which means a tragedy. Or I guess in, not a tragedy, but tragedies. Prodit, our verb, could either be from prodo, to make known or give, or prodeo, which means to proceed. I think it's prodeo. So, proceeds, or, oh, let's say comes forth, because aesopus is just Aesop. If you haven't watched a few of the other videos, I think it's only, maybe it's only the prologue that I talked about this. But the title of this work is, like the full title, is Phaedri Augusti Liberti Fabularum Aesopiarum Libri Quinque, the 5 books of Aesopian fables of the freedmen of Augustus Phaedrus. These are supposed to be fables that at least are based on Aesop's fables. Not maybe some direct translations, maybe some that are just kind of adaptations in Aesop's style. And so now, Phaedrus is actually directly invoking Aesop. Even though this is obviously not one of Aesop's fables, but I guess he's trying to invoke Aesop himself in his writing style. Aesop is sometimes a character in these fables. Here, I think Phaedrus is just invoking Aesop's writing style. For novis, novis is from the adjective novus, which means new. So, and Aesop comes forth in new tragedies. So the first sentence, 5 whole lines, you who scornfully criticize my writings and you dislike to read this kind of amusements, Keep with this little book with a little patience, while I placate the sternness of your brow, and Aesop comes forth in new tragedies. So essentially, you don't like my writing? You don't like my fun writing? Fine, I'll write some tragedies. How about that, buddy? Which is kind of a fun way to take it. Utinam nec umquam belli nemoris Jugo pinus bipeni concidisset Thessala. That looks far more confusing than other sentences, but it'll make sense in a minute. So utinam is an adverb meaning if only. Basically a kind of exclamation of just wishing that something would have or would happen. Nec is essentially the negative version of et, and not. Well, either that, or I think it also just works with the subjunctive mood. So let's just say not. Umquam is another adverb that works only in the negative, or at least mostly with the negative. So, if only, not ever. Pelii is the genitive form of Peleus. So, of Peleus. No, not Peleus. Peleon. And Nemoris is the genitive form of Nemos, which in Nemos is a grove. But Peleon is an actual place in Greece. It's like, it's a mountain in like central Greece, like Thessaly. I guess it would be more so northern Greece, I guess. But it's a mountain in Greece, basically. He's referring to a specific mountain in Greece. Jugo is a noun from jugum, which literally is a yoke, like the neck thing around an ox's neck. Or it could also be the summit of a mountain. So let's say summit, and it's dative or ablative, singular, since it's jugum, jugo. Pinus is the nominative singular form, and it means a pine tree. Bipeni is the dative or ablative form from bipenos, not bipenos, bipenis. And that's an adjective meaning like two-edged. Ooh. Two-edged. Concidiscent is the third-person singular pluperfect active subjunctive form from concido. Concido means to fall, basically. And since it's pluperfect, had fallen. And Thessala is adjectival form of Thessaly, or Thessalia. So Thessalian. Yeah. Thessalian. So if only, I guess, so it utinam, if only, let's go to the subject, the pine tree, or Thessalian pine tree, since that is also feminine singular nominative, with pinus. Wait, is pinus feminine? Yes, okay. I guess had not ever fallen. Since it's either dative or ablative, bipeni jugo, out of a place where I can only assume on the two-edged summit of the grove of Pelion. And if you couldn't guess, this is referring to a specific story, but it might become a little more clear if you know this story as we go on, especially with a couple specific names. I'll explain it, but after we're done with this tragedy bit that Phaedrus is telling us. Nec ad professae mortis auracem viam fabricasset argus opere Palladio ratem. I think this is a weird one. At least I found it really tough. So nec and not. Odd, preposition taking the accusative, that means to or at. Professi is from professus, which could mean professed, but it could also mean promised, and that's what I'm going to take it as here. Mortis is the genitive singular form from mors, so of death. Audacem is the accusative singular form of audax, which is very different for Latin. X is not used very often in Latin. Usually it's with loan words too. Audeo plus ax. I'm looking at the Wiktionary entry with the etymology. Ax suffix, used to form adjectives expressing a tendency or inclination to the action of the root verb. So audeo plus ax, audax, bold. Or you have loquor to loquax, which means talkative. Neat. Pugno plus ox, pugnax, combative. Learn something new every day. So, bold, as I said. And viam. You may know the via Appia, the Appian Way. So it could be a way or road, or more metaphorically, a path, also literally, or journey. Let's do that. Fabricacet, plu, third person singular, pluperfect from the asse, from fabrico, which in and of itself is actually an alternate spelling of fabricor, which is odd. Fabricor is just kind of a deponent version of fabrico. Fabrico is not deponent, yet fabricor is, but they're essentially just the same word, just one's deponent, one's not. But it means to build or construct. So had constructed. Argus is just a guy named Argus, if you know the story. Opere is the ablative singular form from opus, which means a work. So I guess by work. Palladio is from palladios. Palladios. And if you know the not suffix, but title, pallas, it is essentially the adjectival form of that. Pallas is essentially a title of Athena / Minerva. So it's like a Minervan work. But I'm going to say Palladian work, just to keep with Palladio. And ratem is the accusative singular form of ratis, which means a ship. And again, famous mythological story involving a ship. Built by Argus, a guy named Argus. You ought to be able to guess what it is. So, and let's see, because this one I found really weird, or at least I had trouble placing one specific word. So nec and I guess subject Argus had not constructed. Let's go with. Oh, wait a second. Never mind, I just put it all together. That's not... What am I thinking? Professi isn't accusative. Viam, audacam viam is accusative. That's what's really working with the prepositional phrase. Professi mortis... There we go. Okay, that's better. What was I thinking? I didn't even realize. Had constructed a ship... Ratem. By Palladian work to a bold journey. Oh. Wait, is that genitive or dative? I think it has to be genitive, because mortis. I'm not sure how I should have marked it then. Of a promised death. To a bold journey of a promised death. And Argus had not constructed a ship by Palladian work to a bold journey of a promised death. In hospitalis prima, I think. Quae ponti sinus patefecit in perniciam Graeum et barbarum. In hospitalis, you might be able to guess. Inhospitable. That's just the nominative singular form for inhospitalis. Prima could be an adjective form from primus, or it could be the adjective for first. I mean, not adjective, adverb. I think it's the adverb, but we'll see. Quae, just like with qui, this is a relative pronoun, just feminine nominative. Who or which. Ponti is the genitive singular form from Pontus. You may know the kingdom of Pontus, but you may not have known that Pontus literally means sea. Considering the kingdom of Pontus was right on the Black Sea, it makes sense. Sinus. Sinus is a noun, and this is just the nominative singular form. It could mean a curve or hollow, but also a gulf. Patefecit is the third person singular perfect active indicative from patefaccio. Basically just conjugate it like faccio, but with pate at the beginning. It's just a prefix. And patefaccio means to open or throw open, or even reveal. Let's say through open. In, we already saw is in or on with cotornis, but with the accusative, it means into or onto. And perniciam, from pernicies, means ruin, destruction, or disaster. Let's go with disaster. Actually, no. I think ruin. Graeum, of Greeks, and barbarum, of barbarians. So putting it into better word order, what is the quae relative to? It might be ratem, the ship. So let's say which the inhospitable. Why am I typing so badly? Sea, inhospitable Gulf of the Sea. First, through open into the ruin of Greeks and barbarians. Or you could just say foreigners, but barbarians. I think it's just that the ship which the inhospitable Gulf of the Sea first threw open into the ruin of Greeks and barbarians. Yeah. I think that works. Namque et superbi luget aetae domus. Namque, conjunction, meaning for indeed. It's literally like for and, but I think it's just kind of like more emphatic nam, for indeed. Et, actually, because I only just realized this the other day, or at least committed to memory, et can also be an adverb, meaning also. Superbi is from superbus. It is an adjective, meaning proud, in both the positive or negative way, connotation. Another famous figure is Tarquinius Superbus. Tarquinius the Proud, the last king of Rome. So proud. Luge is the third person singular, just present active indicative from lugeo, which means mourn or lament. Let's say mourn. Aetai is the genitive singular form of Aetes. You may know this guy. He was a specific king from a specific story, but again, I will go over that more when we are done with our little tragedy. And domus is house. In fact, that should be the subject of this little line. For indeed, the house, domus, of proud Aetes also et mourns. So not only is Phaedrus mourning, but the proud house of Aetes also mourns this happening. Et regna Peliae scelere mediae iacent. No. That is not an infinitive. That's an ablative noun. There we go. Okay. So et and regna from regnum, second declension neuter noun, so either nominative plural or accusative plural. And the regnum can mean a kingdom, but it could also just figuratively mean power. So the powers, Pelia of Pelias, scelere, the ablative singular of scelus, which again is not the infinitive, it is an ablative singular noun. It looks like the infinitive of a verb, but it is not. But scelus means wickedness, or even just evil deed. I'm just gonna go with wickedness. Medeae. Medea is the nominative singular version. Nominative singular. And so Medeae could either be nominative plural or genitive singular. Here it's got to be genitive singular, because we've already got our nominative. Yes. So, I of Medea. Medea is the most famous character in this story. If you don't know her, you definitely don't know the story. But even if you know her, you might not be completely aware of the story that this is referencing. It's honestly, kind of one of the lesser known Greek myths. And iacent is the third person plural present active indicative. It generally means to lie, as in like lying down, or even just to have fallen. Or maybe, lay low. Yes. And the powers of Pelias et regna Peliae iacent, lay low, by the wickedness Medeae of Medea. And some of you that do know Medea and her story may be saying that she's more of a victim than anything else. And I agree, but we're looking at it from Phaedrus' lens here and the traditional telling of the story. So, wickedness of Medea, that's what we're going with. Quae saevum ingenium variis involuens modis. Who, I think this is referring to Medea, saevum, from the adjective saevus, which can mean fierce, violent, cruel. Let's say savage. Yeah. Ingenium, from ingenius, which, actually no, it's not from ingenius. Ingenium, which is the nominative singular form of that. It is a nominative singular neuter noun that means the nature or quality, temper, intelligence, or even talent or genius. Let's go with ability. The savage ability. Varis, which is from the adjective varios, just means diverse or various. Involvens, and of course this dative or ablative plural. Involvens is a present participle. You can tell by the ns ending, and this is nominative, so present participle from involvo. Involvo is to wrap, envelop, or cover or conceal. So let's say covering modis. This is from modus, which you may recognize from the term modus operandi, essentially the manner of operation. So let's say, honestly, either manner, method, or way. Let's put it all together first. Who involvens covering her savage ability in various ways, I think is how I would put it. So she's disguising her savage ability, her kind of evil tendencies? Not really. Her wickedness, kinda. Or her severe talent. Illic per artus fratris explicuit fugam. Illic is an adverb meaning there. Per is a preposition, takes the accusative, and it means through, or even throughout, but let's just do through. Artus, it is a fourth declension noun. So this could either be nominative singular, nominative plural, genitive singular, accusative plural. So it could be a bunch of things, because the fourth declension is confusing. And it could mean like joints, like the joints of your body, or sinew, strength, or power, figuratively, or, as is being done here, limbs. Oh, and of course this is accusative plural, because it's being used with the preposition per, so it has to be accusative. Fratris is the genitive singular from frater. Frater is brother. Explicuit. Explico, well, it's the third person singular perfect active indicative from explico. Explico means to unfold, uncurl, or unfurl, undo, or even develop, or arrange, I think is the best term here. Well, arranged. Perfect tense. Fugam. This is accusative singular of fuga. Fuga is an escape. Like how the verb fugio is like to flee or escape. So there, through the limbs of her brother, she arranged her escape. Or, instead of escape, let's go a little more poetic. Her flight. Yeah. Hic caere patris bellarium infecit manus. Hic. Have we seen hic here? I don't know. Hic, hike, hoc. Those are the different genders for the nominative of the pronoun hic, which means this. Caere is the ablative singular of caires, and caires is a murder. Well, essentially a murder, but like a cutting, or a beating, but really murder. Patris, genitive singular form from pater, which is father. Belliarum is really difficult to figure out, essentially. It's because it's not easy to look up. I'm pretty sure it's the genitive plural, but I don't know exactly what the nominative would be. Maybe Peleades? Because it's essentially the name of the house. Like how, going by my successors of Alexander Brain, the house of Antigonus is the Antigonids. The house of Antipater is the Antipatrids. The of Seleucus is the Seleucids. I'm pretty sure this would be the Pleiadids? Maybe? I think it would be either that or the Pleiads. I think the Pleiadids. This is essentially supposed to be referring to the 7 daughters of Peleus, but I think I'll go with the Pleiadids. Well, of the Pleiadids. Infecit is the third-person singular perfect active indicative of inficio, which could just mean to dip or to color or dye, but it also means to corrupt or taint or infect. But I'm going to go with, I guess, taint. Manus, it's another 4th declension noun, but I'm pretty sure it's the accusative plural. And manus means hand, so the hands. So hic, this, inficit, taints the hands of the Pleiadids by the murder of the father. And honestly, I'm going to put that in quotations because that's essentially just a story being told. And that is the entire tragedy, because after that, quid dibi videtur? Well, I guess not that. I think I just marked videtur. Because I think quid, how, because quid could mean what, but also how. How videtur, the present passive indicative, third person singular present passive indicative, passive from the you are. How did it seem tibi to you? Dative of to. So he's asking what the reader thought. So this whole tragedy is just referring essentially to bits and pieces of the Argonauts, or really Medea's part in the story of the Argonauts and the Golden Fleece. So Argus here was said to have built the ship of the Argo, which is where the Argonauts got their name. Apparently the wood was grown on Mount Pelion. So if only Jason had not gotten or if only the Argo had not been built by Argus, so that Jason couldn't have gone on his voyage to find the Golden Fleece, then the powers of Peleus, or actually, looking at this, realms makes more sense, because it's like kingdoms, but that doesn't make sense because it's just one kingdom. But the realms, that makes a little more sense. The realms of Peleus, where it had laid low by the wickedness of Medea. This is referring to Peleus' death, who was apparently the king of Thessaly, which apparently I haven't known a ton about this myth, so I can't tell you a whole ton, but I didn't realize that the Argo was built in Thessaly, and then Peleus was king of Thessaly. But apparently he was killed by Medea. Oh! Peleus, through the schemes and wickedness of Medea, was killed. He was killed by his daughters. By the hands of his own daughters. That's why. Oh! And yeah, taints the hands, that definitely works. Yes. The daughters murdered their father, bringing the ruin of the realms. And of course, Medea is the daughter of Aeetes, the king of Colchis. Colchis being, like, here's a map, here's Thessaly, over here is Colchis. So the only way she got to Thessaly to cause that was because of Jason bringing her back. And of course, she had to flee her father. He did not want her going with Jason or him finding the Golden Fleece. And she had, I think, kidnapped her brother, basically. Her brother's name was Absyrtos. And apparently to slow down Aeetes from catching up with her and Jason, she cut him into pieces and lopped off his limbs and tossed them in the sea to distract him. Oh, well, that ain't great. Yeah, it's not a very great story. What I know of Medea and the journey to the Golden Fleece was that Jason gathered the Argonauts, or who would become the Argonauts. Well, no. Did Jason gather them? I know he was given the task of finding the Golden Fleece. The Argonauts were put together. They went to Colchis, because that's where the Golden Fleece was, and then had to flee Aeetes. He took Medea with him. He kind of charmed Medea into agreeing to go with him to get and bring back the Golden Fleece. And then not good things happen when they get back either. That's about all I know, with eventually Jason dying alone underneath the rotting remains of the Argo. That's about everything I know about Jason and the Argonauts and Medea's story. I'm getting the information that I did not know from the notes on the Project Gutenberg translated text, which I will have linked down below. But, so he's citing Ovid's Metamorphoses for some of this information, but if you want more information, you can also read the Argonautica. It's by Apollonius of Rhodes, which is an epic poem telling the story of Jason and the Argonauts. So you can read that. It's a fun read and really, really plays with subverting tropes of Greek myth and Greek heroes with Jason. So you could read Ovid's Metamorphoses or the Argonautica. You can also read, I think it was Euripides' play, Medea, which really dives more into the character of Medea herself. Very well-known story, very interesting story. And so Phaedrus put his own tragic spin on it to try to please his critics. But how did they respond? Hoc quoque insulsum est ait. Hoc, just the neuter form of hic, so this. Quoque is the adverb also, synonym of the adverb et, also. Insulsum is an adjective from insulsus, and it means tasteless or flavorless. Let's say flavorless. And est, third person singular, present active indicative from sum, which is just to be, so is. And ait, verb of speaking from io, it says, I guess. So how did it seem to you? Just a singular you. And he says, it is est. Or this, I suppose. This is also flavorless. This is also flavorless. Falsoque dictum. And with the que suffix, you always translate it before the verb, or the noun, the word that is attached to. Falso, I think this is actually an adverb, because it could be the dative or ablative form from falsus, which would mean false, or it could just be the adverb falsely, or wrongfully. And dictum, perfect passive participle from dicto, which means said, or stated, or maybe even just and wrongfully told. Longe quia vetustior aegaea minus classe perdomuit. Lustoque vindicavit exemplo impetum. So longe is an adverb, meaning by far or by a while, a long ways, by far. Quia, a conjunction meaning because. Vetustior, it is the comparative of vetus, so it'll be either more or less. And vetus means or of an older time, so also it could be earlier or ancient. I'm going to go with earlier because, yeah, especially because it's a comparative, so earlier or before or older. Because, I guess, really long earlier, or earlier by far, or by a while. Aigaia is from Aigaios, the adjectival form of the Aegean. So, like, well, I guess it would just be Aegean, yeah. So, Aegean. Minos is just Minos. They didn't even change the ending for the Latin, because the os is usually a Greek ending. But here, it's just Minos for the nominative. Classe is from classis. This is the ablative form from classis. Classis is a fleet. Well, by a fleet. Perdomuit is the third-person singular perfect active indicative from perdomo. Perdomo means to conquer or subjugate. And freta is the nominative or accusative plural from fretum, which could mean a strait or a sound, meaning those kinds of bodies of water, or it could also mean the sea. So, Minos subjugated the Aegean Sea with his fleet. And lusto, not lusto, justo. Justo is the dative or ablative form from justus. It's an adjective meaning just or righteous or lawful. I'm going to go with just. Vindicavit, it is third-person singular perfect active indicative from vindico. Vindico could mean to lay claim or liberate, vindicate, as we get the word from. Let's try vindicate for now. Exemplo is the dative or ablative form from exemplum, which means example. Impetum is from impetus. Impetus, with Latin, is a fourth declension noun, and it means an attack or assault, or even just ardor or passion, but it seems a bit aggressive. Let's say impulse, because it could be negative. It could be. It's weird. I'm not completely sure about this, because it has to be singular. So it can't be like attacks, like a bunch of pirate attacks in the sea, I guess. Because, let's see, and with just example, he vindicated impetum, I guess, impulse, or avenged. I'm not completely sure, because I get, like, by just example, like, he was kind of a lawgiver, but I'm not sure what impetus is supposed to be, or even really vindicavit, how to translate both of those to make it make sense. Because I've seen a couple different ways to do it. I've seen a couple different ways that people have done it, but, maybe really punished impulse. Maybe punished aggressive impulse. Or maybe I'm seeing here force. You punished force with a just example. Maybe that. But he also used force to do this, so I don't know. Maybe impetuousness. Yeah, let's do impetuousness. And with a just example, he punished impetuousness. And that's the end of his critic talking. Quid ergo possum facere tibi, lector cato, si nec faberae te iuant, nec fabulae. Very messy marking, but whatever. Quid, I said before how, but here it's what. Ergo is then or therefore. I'm just going to go with then. Possum is just the first person present active indicative. I am able. Facere is the infinitive from facio, which means to do. And tibi, I think we saw that before somewhere, but tibi is the dative form of tu. So, to you. Or for you. Lector is just the nominative form, nominative singular. It means a reader. And Cato is just a name. So, then, ergo, quid, what am I able to do for you, reader Cato? I think he's just kind of making fun, using like Cato the Elder, or Cato the Younger, Cato the Younger's name in a sort of derogatory way. Because Cato the Younger, he was a famous Stoic and kind of a stick in the mud. I think he was also very known, a bit infamous for being especially harsh with his slaves. So he was like an especially harsh critic. See, if, nec, but. So I could say and not, but I see a nec coming up, so neither fabulae, the plural of, well, this is the diminutive of fabula. Fabula, story or fable. Fabula is the diminutive, so little story, stories, because it's nominative plural, the I. Te, you want, it's the third person singular, third person plural, present active indicative, which means to help, aid, or even just gratify or please. I'm going to go with please, actually, yeah. And nec is neither nor. And fabulae, fables. Then what am I able to do for you, reader Cato? See if neither little stories nor fables please you. So neither the little stories that Fable has been telling, because there have been some short ones that we've read, nor the long ones, like this whole thing about Medea, or even Lupus Arcanum, the wolf to the dog, stories that long. If neither of them please the unpleasable Cato, what's he supposed to do? Noli molestus esse omnino litteris. Noli is the imperative form from nolo. Nolo is to not want. So, do not wish. Molestus is just the nominative singular form, which means it's an adjective, so troublesome or irksome, annoying. Let's say irksome. I like that word. Esse, to be, the infinitive form from sum / est. Omnino is an adverb meaning like entirely, utterly, wholly, or even like negatively at all, which is what I'm going to go with. And litteris is from littera, like littera. It is the dative or ablative plural, and littera is a letter. So letters do not wish to be irksome. No, irksome's a little weak for what I want. Let's do troublesome. Troublesome at all litteries with letters. Maiorum exhibeant ne tibi molestiam. Actually, this is really the object. This is an adjective. So maiorum is the accusative singular form from maior, which means more or greater. Well, actually, not really more. Yeah, just kind of greater. Exhibeant is the third person plural, I think, present active subjunctive from exhibeo. Exhibeo means to show or like present. Exhibit, where we get the word from. I'm going to go with show, though. Ne, just not. Usually it's ne with the subjunctive. Tibi, to you. And molestiam, the accusative singular form from molestia, which means, like, trouble, annoyance, or even just dislike, or disgust. I'm gonna go with dislike. Oh, wait. So ne with the subjunctive can be kind of a negative purpose, like in order not to, or the fun way, lest. So lest they show, they as in the letters, I'm pretty sure, more or greater disgust to you. Yeah. Oh, okay. I was having trouble kind of understanding what he was saying, but I get it. I get it now. So, do not wish to be troublesome at all with letters. Like, literally, or I guess not with, but to letters, lest they show greater disgust to you. So, don't be bad to the letters you are reading, for they may end up being even worse to you. Kinda Phaedrus threatening his critics with writing even worse things for them saying bad things about his writing. Hoc illis dictum est, qui stultitia nauseant et ut putentur sapere caelum vituperant. Hoc, we've seen the different forms of hic already. This, in fact, I think we saw hoc earlier exactly, but I don't remember where. Illis is from ille. It is the dative or ablative plural, and ille is a pronoun meaning that. So those. And dictum est is a perfect passive participle from dicto. Not dicto, dico. So, was said or declared. What did I say before? Because we saw... I thought we had seen something before with that. Yeah, there, with dictum. What did I say? Told? So this was, I guess, told for those. Dative, using it as an indirect object. Qui, which we've already seen, who. Stultitia, it is from stultitius. No, it is not from stultitius. This is the noun. That means foolishness or idiocy. And I think this has to be either nominative singular or ablative singular. And considering next we have nauseant, a third person plural verb, it cannot be nominative, so this has to be ablative. Nauseant is the third person plural present active indicative from nauseo, which means to nauseate. So who, which qui can be plural, nauseate with stupidity, honestly, with stupidity. Et and ut. Ut could be one of two things. I don't think we've seen ut before in this fable. I do not believe so. So ut, one of two ways. Either it goes with the indicative for like or as, or it goes with the subjunctive for so that, or at least some sort of purpose. And putentur is subjunctive, I'll tell you now, so that putentur is from puto, third person plural present passive subjunctive. And puto means it could be to value or esteem, regard. Let's say regarded. They are regarded. Sapere. Sapere is the infinitive, present active infinitive from sapio, which means to taste or to know. Figuratively, at least. Also figuratively, to be wise. Caelum is the nominative or accusative singular for the sky. And vituperant, once again, is third person plural present, but it's just active indicative here, rather than the subjunctive of putentur. So just the general indicative statement of fact. Vitupero means to censure, or to scold, or blame. I'm going to go with censure. And main verb here is vituperant. They censure, either that or disparage. Actually, let's say criticize. Well, no, I want to use a different word, because I use criticize up here with distringis, and this is a different verb. So let's go with, let's say disparage, yeah. I think that works well here. They disparage the sky, caelum, ut, so that, putentur, they are, let's say considered to, oh no, everything's out of whack. Hold on. Okay, that worked. That's good. They are considered, no, that's good enough. They are considered, why'd you do that? Stop that. To sapere. Or I guess they are valued to taste or judge. I guess more so, because figuratively, to be wise. Or to be smart. Yeah, that'll be good enough. So, I got it lined up again. No! And they disparage the sky so that they are valued to be smart. Or considered. Yeah. Stop it! Ugh. And they disparage the sky so that they are considered to be smart. There we go. So basically, Phaedrus thinks that his critics can't be pleased by anything. And they will even criticize the sky as long as they are considered smart. Which I've definitely heard that argument before with internet critics. So, yeah, that kind of thinking, thousands of years. It has been around for thousands of years. And definitely, this could be a little harsh. It's not so harsh. He's just kind of calling his critics stupid and just overall miserable, unable to be pleased. But if you want to see really harsh criticizing of one's critics, then you read Catullus or Martial. Those ones, they get raunchy with their takedowns of their critics. They also call them out by name, rather than, I think rather than actually referring to a man named Cato, he's just referring to, he's just using the name in a derogatory sense. So there we go. Another long, the last really, really long fable out of the way. If you could even call this a fable. It's just kind of Phaedrus deriding his critics. But this is the longest that it will be, for now. The rest of them will be shorter than this, thankfully, because this takes a while. So, before ending off, let us do a reading of the Latin, and then a reading of the English. Tuqui nasute scripta stringes mea, et hoc iocorum legere fastidis genus, parva libellum sustine patientia, severitatem frontis dum placo tuae, et uncotornis prodit aesopus novis. Utinam nec unquam pelli nomoris jugo, penus bipeni congedescens Thessala, nec ad professae mortis audacem viam fabricasset Argus opere Palladio ratum in hospitalis prima quae pontis sinus pacificet in pernicium graeum et barbarum. Namque et superbi luget aetae domus, et regne pelliae scelere mediae iacent, quae saevum ingenium variis in volvens modis, illic per artus fratris explicuit fugam, hic caede patris pelliadum infecit manus, quid tibi videtur? Hoc quoque insulsum est, ait. Falsoque dictum longe quia vetustior, aegeae minus classe per domuit freta, lustoque vindicavet exemplo impetum. Quid ergo possum facere tibi, lector Cato, si nec fabilae te iuant, nec fabulae? Noli molestus esse omnino litteris, maiorum exhibeant ne tibi molestiam. Hoc illis dictum est, qui stultitia nauseant, et ut putentur sapere, caelum vituperant. You who scornfully criticize my writings and dislike to read this kind of amusements, keep with this little book with a little patience, while I placate the sternness of your brow, and Aesop comes forth in new tragedies. If only the Thessalian pine tree had not ever fallen on the two-edged summit of the grove of Pelion, and Argus had not constructed a ship by Palladian work to a bold journey of a promised death, which the inhospitable gulf of the sea first threw open into the ruin of the Greeks and barbarians. For indeed the house of proud Aeetes also mourns, and the realms of Peleus lay low by the wickedness of Medea, who, covering her savage ability in various ways, there through the limbs of her brother she arranged her flight. This taints the hands of the Pleiadids by the murder of their father. How did it seem to you? He says, this is also flavorless, and wrongfully told, because earlier by a while Minos subjugated the Aegean Sea with his fleet, and with a just example he punished impetuousness. Then what am I able to do for you, reader Cato, if neither little stories nor fables please you? Do not wish to be troublesome at all to letters, lest they show greater disgust to you. This was told for those who nauseate with stupidity, and they disparage the sky so that they are considered to be smart. If you've made it this far in the video, then thank you very much for watching. It's really funny, the more that I think about this fable, how similar it is to, I don't know how often it's still said, but definitely a while back, I'd hear so much that people will criticize anything, or will at least be more negative in order to look more smart, especially with like internet critics. Very, very modern feeling in a way. And it's even almost like, you don't like my happy-go-lucky stories? Fine, I'll write something grimdark. Not quite to that extent, but in a similar vein. But anyways, next time, shorter fables. Very nice, very easy, very short. And we'll even be seeing more mythological characters. So, until then, remember to spay and neuter your pets, et valete viatores.